Hi, I'm Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Love Letters. Love Letters are a collection of love stories of people get lost, get crazy, and disoriented in the name of love. And of course, my partner in love, Miss Karen Deloche.
Hello.
Happy New Year, Miss Karen.
Blessings to you too for a great 2025.
Great 2025. More episodes for Love Letters. This 2025, more letters. And today we're gonna read one of our letter senders asking for help. And I hope Miss Karen and I will give you a good advice. So this is the letter is all about. Dear Daniel and Karen, I hope you are doing well. I'm reaching out because I'm currently navigating the challenges of a long distance relationship and would deeply value your advice on how to make it work. The distance has brought unique obstacles, such as maintaining strong communication, balancing personal lives with the time zones, and keeping the connection alive despite of being far apart. I'm wondering if you have any suggestions, strategies, or insights that could help overcome these challenges and strengthen our bond. If you have experience with a long distance relationships or general relationship advice, I would be grateful to hear your thoughts. Your perspective would mean a lot as I work toward building a stronger connection. Thank you so much for taking the time to consider this. Please let me know if there's a good time to discuss or if you prefer to share your advice via email or your podcast itself. Looking forward to hearing from you and be part of your podcast. Best regards, Lizelle. Thank you, Lizelle, for your letters. And we're trying our best to give you exactly what you want or advice from Miss Karen and I. So,
I-
Miss Karen, what do you think?
well, Lisa is right. It presents some very real difficulties maintaining a very personal, intimate relationship when you're not in the same town or maybe the same state or the same time zone as she's indicating. And I know how difficult that was through college when I was dating someone in another state. But back in the day when I was young,
Back on the day.
uh, we didn't have all the wonderful ways to connect that we have now. Back
Yes.
then, we didn't even have cell phones. We did have telephones, which you paid for long distance calls every time you
Mhm.
called someone, but we had letters. What we call today snail mail was our way to stay connected, believe it or not. And I know for some men, it's very difficult to write letters. It's not a way they want to communicate. And at the time, my boyfriend would just write about the football games he was watching, telling me every play-by-play and scores, of his favorite teams. And, at the time, I didn't care. I was just happy to get a letter to hear from him, and it meant a lot. Nowadays, we have WhatsApp we can connect with, and I have half my family that lives in Germany, and I'm in the United States, so we're actually 6 hours time zone away. And even though they're my sons and their wives and grandchildren, it's still part of my heart is in Germany with them. But we get to do Zoom calls, regularly, day. We get
Yes.
to see each other's faces. I get to stay connected to my grandson and granddaughter that way because I've been there, was there this time last year. As a matter of fact, I was with them, and it was so hard to leave because of the distance. So I really feel for you, Lisa. I understand, the difficulties, but in another way, there are some opportunities to build some wonderful foundations in your relationship. One of them, of course, being trust, because you're trusting each other even though you're not in sight. I don't know if I believe out of sight, out of mind, or absence makes the heart grow fonder. Both of those are kind of cliches that we don't want to hear about. We want to know about our particular relationship, and hopefully you have a partner who's willing, to do the work to communicate in spite of the distance. Excuse me, I'm gonna take a drink of water if you got a comment, Daniel.
Yes. So, Miss Karen, what strategies did you use to cope up with feelings of loneliness or missing each other?
Well, I've always been an outgoing person, so it's easy for me to surround myself with friends and, being able to occupy your time with groups of friends that can do things together helps you with loneliness and helps keep you from, looking for someone else to fill that need besides your partner. And as a Christian, I know that there is a God-sized need in all of our hearts that not even our partners can fill, and you can work on your relationship with God while you're apart from each other. And when you come together, you can have a more deeper, a deeper connection. So we do have the internet, we do have ways, even, as I was talking about snail mail, the slow mail that you put a stamp on, a mail is fun, still fun to get even in these
Yes.
days of the internet. It's still wonderful to get a card in the mail or a letter in the mail. I have a grandson who lives far away, and, besides and they get cards from me, because there's something about a letter being addressed to you and coming in the mail. So I would encourage you to do that. Send love notes, and it can be a tangible expression too later. You can something you can hold and, keep in your drawer or keep close to your heart and remembering the words. My husband is a great letter writer. Before we married, that was one of the deep connections that we had. We didn't we were in a group, we were at a church, but we weren't dating, so we didn't have alone time. But he would share from his heart in these letters that became so precious to me and really helped me fall in love with him as I saw his heart. So I'd encourage you, Liesl, to think about, having that kind of connection with your significant other, to write letters, to find other ways to communicate that can deepen your relationship, even though you're not seeing each other face to face.
Yes. So, Miss Karen, how do you handle misunderstandings or conflicts when you can't resolve them face to face?
That's a good question, Daniel, because I'm sure when you're trying to develop and maintain your relationship at a distance, part of it is a maintenance issue, not just growing, because it's hard to grow unless you're being open. And you've got to be honest when you have these misunderstandings, or it stretches your trust base in your relationship. Do you truly trust each other, that you're alone in being significant to one another, that you are still exclusive even though you're not in the same area? These are things you have to talk about, and I know for some people it's hard to talk about it. um, but it's really a way to determine if this is somebody you really want to spend the rest of your life with, or if you're already that committed to these. Or these are important, these conflict resolution, to look at the problems, look at the misunderstandings, and resolve them. Be quick to apologize, be quick to apologize for your part of it. I'm sorry I didn't make myself clear. I'm sorry I misunderstood what you meant. Or setting boundaries for the relationship. If I call you and it's the wrong time of day, I'm not going to be insecure to think that we can't still resolve, like, where you were or where I was or who I was with. These things are can be really hard to resolve when you're far apart.
Definitely. Communication, people. Communications. So how do celebrate or how do you celebrate special occasions like birthdays or anniversary in a long distance setup?
Yesterday was my son's birthday, and, he lives, like I said, 6,000 miles away, and, it's so hard because I can't be there to hug him and kiss him, but, you just have to take advantage of WhatsApp and Zoom and FaceTime and these kind of things to, make that connection, and it's hard, but it can work. I couldn't be there for Christmas this year, but we can talk about I was there last year, what we did last year, what we have planned for the future, even if right now we can't be together. We can express our love. We had already mailed things. My daughter went over and took a whole bunch of packages we had sent over to every member of my family. And, you do things that can help keep the other person aware of your feelings for them. I think mailing a package, I think sending cards and letters are really wonderful personal ways because it is more unusual right now. It's an old-fashioned way of communication, but it still is can be very significant.
Very significant in a small ways, people. So, most especially for Lizelle, I'm asking this so that we can provide more advice for Miss Lizelle. So, what are some ways that you reassure each other about your commitment for a long distance?
It does have to be mutual. If you're not both in agreement, it's not going to work, and that's just the truth. If you both know that you want a future together, that this separation isn't permanent, hopefully there is an end to when the separation will end, or if one or the other is going to join each other. My son's married German women, and they're American, and they've made some decisions. Okay, we're going to spend these years in Germany, and then we're going to come to America. So they're making compromises to be able to connect with both sides of the continent. Both sides of the world, really, to make the
Yes.
relationship be fair and equitable. And of course, they have children that they want to be bilingual and understand both cultures, not just one parent's culture. And so, if you know this is the person you want to be with the rest of your life, then be willing to make compromises, make plans to be together. Decide when you can afford to either drive or fly to where each other is and take turns doing that. My daughter had a relationship that was long distance a couple of years ago, and she finally realized that she just couldn't do it anymore. And her boyfriend had to make a decision. How committed was he to this relationship? 2 weeks later, he had quit his job, found a new job, and moved 17 hours south to be able to be with her because he was really demonstrating to her his commitment to her by doing that.
I hope Lizelle that are listening is listening right now and well make a decision as your husband or boyfriend or whatever, make a big decision, a big leap to your relationship. So, Ms. Lizelle, how do you make conversations engaging and meaningful when you can't share everyday experiences? That's hard, right?
Yeah, but the reality is that most of us don't spend all of our time with our significant others. We have jobs, we have, family commitments. One works here, one works the other place. We come home and we're busy with the family issues or children. If we have children, we're busy, preparing meals and sometimes even when you're in the same place, it's easy to get complacent and not stay in good communication. So, in that regard, being apart really kind of forces you to make the choices to be more in communication, as Daniel is making a point of communication, um, because you know that you won't be able to sustain the closeness and intimacy without it.
Mm,
And
yes,
even if you're in the same place, you can lose it. So, in that sense, you're aware when you're apart that you need to do that more.
definitely. So, do you have any rules or boundaries regarding communication?
Well, I know I've had to learn how to make boundaries and rules in communication. And a couple of them is if you're walking in forgiveness and you're not bringing up old stuff. If you find that there's still some old things between you that hurt, then those things you have to take to the Father and ask for healing. Maybe you haven't thoroughly forgiven or trust hasn't been renewed. I know on other episodes of Love Letters we've talked about trust or when there's been a breach of trust. But even if there hasn't been a breach of trust, there can be a real need for that same kind of communication that we've been talking about to keep those embers burning of love for each other. You can't be negative in your words with each other if you want to keep that alive. It's very important. If you get angry with one another, don't let those words out or you will really regret it. Maturity is watching your mouth, watching what you say to each other. And that is really important because words do hurt us. And so if you're angry, then you can say, I'm angry and I can't talk about that right now. And then you take it to the Father and you give him your anger and your hurt. And when you can be more peaceful to discuss it in a way that is humbly, because we're human, we're not perfect. Nobody's going to say the right things all the time, but you can set boundaries and say, I have an ex, you can't talk about that's not coming into this relationship or other experiences. You set your boundaries based on what works in your relationship.
Yes, be careful, people, because wounded by words is hard to heal than physically wounded. It takes time. So be careful of what you're saying to your behalf. So, Miss Karen, before we go on, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Book 101 Review, on my fifth season already, people. Fifth year. Yay! And listen to my feature author of the month of January. He is award-winning and best-selling author, Mr. Hari Turtledove. So please do listen, Book 101 Review. So, Miss Karen, would you like to plug in your projects?
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm actually a creativity specialist is my career. I have a wonderful art subscription group that I'm building even now that meets on Tuesday nights, and we encourage each other in creativity. And it is easy to find on my website www.karendeloachart.com. I'd love to have you or to talk to you about stirring up your own creativity. And I have a whole three-part podcast that's for free on my website also that talks about art as self-therapy, wellness through creativity.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Karen Deloach because if you support her, more coaching to come, more books to come, and more arts to come. So, Miss Karen, to wrap up our discussion about the letter of Miss Lizelle, how do we ensure both partners feel equally invested in the relationship?
You know, that it'd be wonderful to say it's always 100%, 100%. And yet that's not the reality. That's not the way life works out because there are distractions in life. Sometimes it's work, sometimes it's family, sometimes it's illness. There can be things that make it seem like we're the ones doing all the giving and they're not doing enough giving. But it's important that it isn't always one-sided, that one partner isn't always the one giving 100% and the other partner isn't. You need to reconsider things and address those issues if that's the case. But we do give whatever we have to give to that person if that's the person we are totally committed to. We know when you're long distance, it's going to have to be, either on a phone, on Zoom or
Mm.
WhatsApp or, in some way that is artificial, but you can still look at that camera, look at each other and, be as real and as honest as you possibly can about what you are committed to doing and make a plan to find time together and to do things together because it's important to maintain. and to grow your relationship. They're not always standing still. They're either going backwards or forwards. And in order to move it forward, it takes a conscious effort. And being a creativity specialist, I'd say at least be creative about it. Your
Yes.
partner. If is it music, send them their favorite music, or record a poem and a song just for them, or in some way share your creative heart with your partner just for them, that shows how much you love them and are committed to this relationship even from a distance.
Yes, people. If you have experiencing long distance relationship, make a way to rekindle your relationship. In a simple way, make your relationship bigger, better, and bolder, even you are too far away. So I hope, Lizal, we give you a gold treasure to think about and make a big leap this 2025. Think big if you are really want your man to be with you. Make a big decision. So, Miss Karen, thank you for your time.
Oh, God bless everyone.
God bless everyone, and we are inviting you to please do write your love letters to our podcast. For sure, we gonna read them and give you advice. More to come, people. See you soon.
Bye bye.
I think our next letter sender is bigger, and